friends. Welcome to Sky House Herbs podcast. I'm Ashley Elenbaas, a clinical herbalist, and in this space, I share my knowledge and experience with plant medicine to help you on your own journey of healing and transformation. Join me in exploring the ancient wisdom of plant spirit medicine and how it can be used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. We'll talk to experts in the field and share stories from people who've been transformed by powerful plant allies. New episodes are released each Monday, so please subscribe. And now, let's explore this mystical world of plant medicine together. Hey everyone, welcome into today's episode. We're going to be taking a little break from the Soil to Spirit series that I am currently working on to talk about one plant that I love, one plant that I'm sure you know, and talk about its medicinal, its magical, its ritual, and of course, its practical uses for you in your everyday life. Today, we are talking about rosemary, Rosmarinus officinalis, a beautiful herb from the Mediterranean region, and I want to show you some of its gorgeous features. I want you to notice that it has these very thick leaves, and these leaves make it resistant to drought and are packed with volatile oils. And these are oils that give it its signature scent, they give it its pungent flavor, and provide all of these amazing medicinal values that we are going to talk about today. This plant grows native to the Mediterranean, to Morocco, to the coast of France. It also grows in Portugal and Spain. So this plant is beloved. And if you live in California along the coast, chances are, in Southern California usually, chances are you also grow this in your garden or you see it being grown in yards. And that's because it just does very, very well in that sort of dry, rocky climate. This herb is in the mint family. It has a square stem, it has opposite leaves, and it is packed like a lot of mint family plants. It is packed with volatile oils. This is actually a really good herb for me right now because I'm just getting over being sick. And you're probably like, Ashley, you're always sick. Well, I live with 2 kids. And so yes, I do get sick a lot. This herb is really good for mental clarity and for coming out of cold, damp, boggy places, especially where there's mental fog. So if you've been sick for a while, if you've had a respiratory infection, if you've had a bacterial infection, anything that's really zapped your life force, and as a result, you feel a little bit mentally zapped, this herb is going to revitalize your physical spirit and your energy body and get everything moving back upward and outward again. This herb was ruled in traditional astrology by the sun. And it makes sense. It is a very solar, vital force invoking herb. It grows in the sun, it loves the sun, and it is uplifting to our vital energy. So you'll feel that in your body when you take rosemary. So there's so much in a name. Let's start there. The name Rosmarinus officinalis tells us a lot. The first part of the name, Rosmarinus, contains 2 Latin words, rose or ras and marin, and ras means dew and marin means of the sea or marinus. So rosmarinus is dew of the sea. That is because when this plant is growing in the rocks along the ocean, the salt spray from the ocean travels up and covers these very oil-rich leaves with tiny little drops. And we know that oil repels water. So the water just sits right on top of those little leaves, covering it with this glaze of little tiny droplets, or like what my daughters would probably call sparkle. It covers it with sparkle, and it has that beautiful look from the sea spray. The second name is officinalis, and that tells us that it was an original or official herb of the Roman and the Latin pharmacopoeia. This means also that it was commonly carried in apothecaries and in what we would, modern day drugstores, but apothecaries back then, because it was an official medicine and had a long history of use everywhere from Egypt into Rome, and a lot of their birth, marriage, and death rituals. Another part of its name that to me is very fascinating and beautiful is the name Rosemary. And this herb was also given to Mary from the Christian tradition as a herb of grace, or one of the herbs under her dominion or her care. The story goes that she took off her beautiful blue cloak that we often see her wearing, and she threw it over a rosemary bush. And when she lifted it, it was covered with a profusion of blue flowers. That is one of the mythical stories of how rosemary got its blue flowers. And so it has a long association with Mary, also because of its protective qualities. And I did a painting recently. I think I showed this to you maybe in the last video, of Mary in her blue cloak. And I think that she has this beautiful quality of being both the virgin and then also of being the mother and being this protective mother. And I wanted to read to you from a book called Benedictaria by Gail Faith Edwards. I'll include a link in the description below. This is a book on the Southern Italian folk medicine way. And she says this about rosemary. Rosmarinus officinalis, called rosmarina in Italy, is regarded as an herb of protection. Rosemary grows wildly all throughout the area, both inland, in the mountains, and along the seacoast. It is one of the most widely used spices in Mediterranean cooking, especially with meat dishes, and is considered a cure-all. Around my village, it is planted at the entrance to a home or garden as a protection against negativity and harm. A sprig is often burned as incense to clear the air, and at night before bed to protect against disturbing dreams. Isn't that beautiful? Rosemary really is seen as a protective herb in many different cultures. In Egypt, they used it in embalming, and it was used as a protection to help the spirit of that person go to the next realm. One very special use of rosemary is for remembrance, and remembrance not just of the actual literal mind, but remembrance of the ancestral mind and the ancestral heart. This is an herb that really brings up memories from the past, and in particular, memories that are meant to bring us into the future or a future version of ourselves. This card from the Astrological Plant Oracle deck by Adriana Ayales, this beautiful card is card number 3, and it's associated with ancient memory. You can see the beautiful cloak that she wears. Notice that she has the sign of the sun and Mercury above her. Mercury, the planet of communication, the sun, the energy of vital force. Notice how she's dreaming of her ancestors, and she's got a wand of rosemary in one hand and then a crystal wand in the other hand. And so part of what she's doing, what Rosemary is doing, is it's bringing in, it's sort of channeling in ancestral memories, and then using our modern creative mind, bringing those memories into action in the world. So if you're someone who feels like you're missing something, that there's something you feel like you should be doing that you're not doing yet, and you don't even know what that is, this is a really good plant to work with to bring in that ancestral memory. And if you're in a little bit of a mind fog from really anything, it will help to lift that fog, to concentrate those dewdrops so that you can really see your way forward. Now, what about its use as a medicine, its more medicinal actions? Well, there are a ton, and let me tell you a few. The first one is that this herb is a carminative. That means it affects our digestion. And specifically, I use this for cold digestion. That means somebody eats food and it seems to just sit there in their stomach. It doesn't quite move. It doesn't quite break down. They feel full and bloated. Sometimes they might have some gas. This herb is really good at warming up the digestive system. This herb is a warming herb overall. Its energetics are warm and dry. So if you think about a cold, damp, sluggish digestive system, this herb will really get things warm and get circulation moving so that that food can get broken down more efficiently. Another one of its great actions is its ability to be an antioxidant. And we know that oxidation is a harmful process. We know that antioxidants are really important because they help to preserve tissue integrity and health of the brain and health of our nervous system. In particular, rosemary contains rosmarinic acid and flavonoids, which help protect the brain from oxidative stress and inflammation. And these are factors that are implicated in cognitive decline. So for the aging brain as an organ, rosemary is really good at reducing oxidative damage and stress, reducing inflammation, and increasing circulation around the brain. All of these are wonderful things. And thinking back to that idea of bringing back the ancestral mind, when we increase circulation and action to the brain, we're also increasing more brain capacity. And our brain contains the DNA and the coding of our ancestors. So as we infuse more oxygenated, rich blood into the brain and into the area around the brain, improving activity of the brain, it is going to help our recall of the things we need to know most. So I think that's really neat. And then also our cognitive ability to do something with that information, to bring it forward. Rosemary is also an antidepressant. A 2018 randomized controlled trial published in Complementary Therapies in Clinical Practice confirmed that rosemary as aromatherapy had a positive effect on cognitive performance and mood in nursing students under exam stress. So it showed both antidepressant and anti-anxiety capacity. We can use this herb to regulate mood as well. A few other things that this herb does that I think are worth noting is that it is hepatoprotective, which means it's protective on the liver. I think about people who maybe recreationally use cannabis or who use alcohol, people who maybe take a lot of pharmaceutical drugs, which do have an impact on the liver, can use rosemary to help protect the liver from oxidative stress and also from any hepatic damage. So that's a great way to use this herb. And the last thing I'll say about its herbal actions is this herb is wonderful as a circulatory stimulant. In my practice, I love to use rosemary for people who have cold hands and feet, maybe even a cold tip of their nose, showing a lack of circulation. And, as someone who runs cold, I say, that's because all the blood is in my heart. I've got a warm heart, but cold hands. And while that's kind of cute, it's actually not great for our bodies to not have full circulation to the hands and feet. So rosemary is a great agent for increasing circulation all the way to the fingers and toes. It works particularly well for cold hands, feet, and nose with ginger. So you can add those together to really get your circulation going. And as I mentioned before, circulation to the brain as well. Another use that we can use rosemary for is as a hair oil. It is a stimulant to the sebum and the hair glands of the scalp. Take dried rosemary like this, and we can add it to a oil, infuse it, and then use that infused rosemary oil on the scalp to help our hair growth and hair improvement. And it'll improve the thickness of the hair and also the strength of the hair. Another great way to use rosemary is as an incense. You can take a dried sprig of rosemary and light it, and then use that to clear spaces, clear space before going to sleep, using it to clear space in a room, if you're going to study, or if you're engaged in any sort of artistic endeavor where you really want to connect to that ancestral energy line. You can burn it, and it makes a really beautiful aromatic smoke. As a flower essence, this is a flower that you can use for increasing mental clarity, and I'm going to read a description of it. It is for those who feel mentally foggy, forgetful, or disconnected from their physical body, often due to stress, trauma, or emotional withdrawal. It brings warmth and vitality to the mind and the body, restoring presence, enhancing memory, and mental clarity. It is particularly helpful for those who feel spaced out or dissociated, and it encourages creative flow and connection to ancestral wisdom, bringing it into present action. How about that? I love this herb for all of those reasons. And the flower essence is particularly good if you are pregnant or if you're really sensitive and maybe you don't like the taste of rosemary. The flower essence is absolutely safe for anyone to take. Now let's talk about safety. Who is this herb good for and not good for? This herb is particularly good for people who are cold, who are a little damp, a little soggy. Maybe you have a little lethargy or you have poor circulation or low blood pressure. This herb is going to work really well for you. This herb is not so good for people who already run hot and dry or already have a lot of mental agitation. It might be a little too stimulating for you. It is also not recommended in pregnancy in doses higher than what you might use for food. Using it in cooking is absolutely fine in pregnancy, but you wouldn't want to take it as a tincture in higher doses or really drink a strong infused tea because it has been used as an abortifacient and can bring on menstrual blood flow, which we don't want to do in pregnancy. Now, these are some other ways you can use it. The one thing I did want to say is if you're going to use it as a tea or in your cookie, make sure that it is fresh. This is some that I harvested from my garden last year. And I want you to note the color. Do you see how it's green? That is really, really important. If you have rosemary in your pantry and it has turned brown or gray or it looks a little bit like hay, that means that the vital force has left its body. It is no longer here. And if you open up the jar, and you don't smell rosemary, then it's probably not good anymore. You can compost that dead plant material, give it back to the earth, and then go fetch yourself some freshly dried rosemary and start to add that to your food. Typically, culinary dose is going to be about a pinch or maybe about up to a tablespoon per a dish of four. For an individual, about a pinch or like a half a teaspoon is a pretty standard dose. If you're going to be using it as a tincture, then I would start with 3 to 5 drops and try that for a week, see how your body does. I would recommend doing that 3 to 5 times per day. If you're really looking to get ancestral connection, if you're looking to get enhanced circulation, if you're using it to really enhance memory and cognition, the more times you can take the drops throughout the day, the better. So maybe start with 3 drops 4 times a day and just see how you go. And if you want to go up to more, you can go up to, I would say comfortably, maybe about 15 drops. You really don't need more than that. And you can take 15 drops about 3 times a day and see how that feels in your body and in your mind. And the last way I wanted to show you to take rosemary is just to either take a leaf and put it on your tongue. Sometimes when I'm in the garden, I'll just take a leaf, put it on my tongue and just suck on it. The other thing I'll do sometimes is roll it to release the oils and then drop it into a jar of water. And this is what I'm going to drink today to help me because I have had quite the last few days and my brain and my ancestral heart needs a little bit of a pick-me-up. So I'm going to call upon the solar energy and the ancestral strength of my ancestors to help me rebuild my vital force with rosemary. That is what I have for you today. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you use rosemary. If you have found it to be helpful with your own memory, cognition, if you found it to be helpful with digestion, if you've used it in any ritual or artistic work, I would love to hear about that as well. And as always, please leave your questions. And if you have any other herbs you'd like me to talk about, leave those in the comments. I really, really do love hearing from you all. So I will see you in the next episode. Bye.